sufficient cardiac output. Okay, so what is cardiac output? Ada dah formula kat situ. So cardiac output is equals to heart rate times stroke volume, and these stroke volumes are influenced by three factors, which is the preload. So preload tu apa? Stretching of cardiac muscle at the end of diastole. So diastole is the ventricular filling. Okay, afterload is the volume yang fill the ventricles. Maksudnya total volume ni adalah juga dikenali sebagai end-diastolic volume. So bila stroke volume over the total volume, kita akan dapat the ejection fraction. So the ejection fraction is actually how you classify the heart failure according to its severity. Tapi yang tu nanti you akan tahu in clinical years. So I just bagi tahu lah. So in this normal person, so if I say 70 ml just now is the amount that is the blood that is being ejected, and the total volume is 110. So the ejection fraction is 70 over 110. So kita akan dapat the ejection fraction of more or less around 65%. So 65, 70, 50, 70 is the normal ejection fraction. Okay, in heart failure, sometimes this ejection fraction will be reduced. Maksudnya, the contractility is not that strong untuk eject the blood yang the body needs. Okay, so what is heart failure? Heart failure is a clinical syndrome due to any structural or physiological abnormality of the heart that results in the inability of the heart to pump to meet the metabolic demand, or heart tu kena buat kerja lebih. They able to do so but at a higher normal filling pressure. So maksudnya heart tu kena buat kerja lebih lah. So this definition is according to Malaysia Clinical Practice Guideline. Okay. So heart failure causes they can be two. Either the ventricles cannot contract, maksudnya cannot pump efficiently, which is called as systolic heart failure, or the ventricles tu tak boleh nak relax to allow adequate filling of blood. This is called diastolic dysfunction. Okay, so in heart failure you can classify it according to systolic dysfunction or diastolic dysfunction. Okay, so in systolic dysfunction, so systolic means heart tu tak boleh nak contract. So ventricle reduce the ability of ventricles to contract. Therefore, what happens to the stroke volume? Yang volume yang keluar bila dia tak boleh nak contract forcefully, stroke volume will be low. So what happens to the cardiac output? Low, because cardiac output is you times heart rate with the stroke volume. So what happened to ejection fraction? Low, because ejection fraction is the stroke volume over the total volume. So when there is reduction in the stroke volume, the ejection fraction will be low. So during this time, bila dia eject tu kurang, there will be a lot more of blood pooling inside the ventricles during diastole, because dia boleh pump. If let's say before this 70 dia boleh keluar from the 110, now probably dia boleh keluarkan around 30 from 110. There will be remaining of 110 minus 30, 80 ml remains in the ventricles. So during diastole, blood returns to the ventricles, blood venous return will combine with this amount of blood that is left from the previous ejection. Okay, so apa yang jadi? The end-diastolic volume will be increased. Volume akan bertambah. Contoh venous return memang selalu balik, contoh 100 ml. So plus the 80 ml that is left from the previous systolic punya dysfunction, so it becomes 180, kan? So when there is increase in the volume, the pressure will also be increased. So what are the cause of systolic dysfunction? So cause dia examples, the myocardial infarction. So infarction is when kita dah belajarkan MI kan. So in MI, the cardiac muscle tu mati. So when part of ventricles tu mati, let's say in the anterior MI ke, so part of ventricles tu mati, that part cannot contract. Okay, other than that, hypertension. Because pressure kat atas tu tinggi, dia tak boleh nak pump against the high resistance. Or in dilated cardiomyopathy. In this, the ventricles wall are thin and dia memang very weak. So macam mana dia nak contract forcefully? So next is diastolic dysfunction. So in diastolic dysfunction, the heart is unable to relax completely and allow for adequate filling of blood. So not enough blood return. So what happened to the stroke volume? Will be low. The cardiac output will also be low. But what happened to the ejection fraction? Okay, the ejection fraction will remain normal because the total volume pun sama. Kan? Because the ventricles tak boleh nak relax, but the contractility is normal. So the total volume mungkin kurang jadi 70, but the amount that is ejected still remain 56%. So the ejection fraction is the normal. So during diastole, okay, waktu ventricles to relax, sepatutnya venous to return. But because the blood returns to, plus the stiffness of the ventricle walls, the pressure of the ventricles are still elevated. Pressure akan tetap naik. So the end diastolic pressure will also be high in diastolic dysfunction. So apa yang menyebabkan, what is the cause of diastolic dysfunction? So anything that makes the ventricle wall stiff. Contoh macam ada fibrosis. Before this ada myocardial infarction, then that place lupa dia ada fibrosis. So kat situ boleh stiff. Namun massive left ventricular hypertrophy, or there is a myeloid deposition in the myocardial wall, ataupun constrictive pericarditis, means the lining of the heart ada inflammation which restrict the dilatation of the ventricles. Okay. So other causes apart from diastolic or systemic dysfunction yang boleh menyebabkan heart failure is valve dysfunction. Kita dah belajar kan? Okay, endocarditis, or actually this patient ada normal heart but ada sudden abnormal load of fluid ataupun pressure. Suddenly kita infuse banyak patient with fluids, so dia akan extra burden to the heart. Okay. And this heart failure can also be classified according to the clinical presentation. So it can be classified into acute and chronic heart failure. In acute heart failure, the symptoms occur very abrupt, very rapid onset. So the causes must be something that occurs abruptly. Contoh, acute deterioration of the cardiac function in the presence or absence of the previous cardiac disease. Maksudnya the person may or may not have the previous cardiac lesion. Contoh, tiba-tiba patient develop very large, massive myocardial infarction. So tiba-tiba the whole cardiac muscle tu, maksudnya the block tu dekat more proximal lagi, menyebabkan supply of the distal, the whole myocardium tu disrupted. So dapat large MI. So dia akan dapat heart failure or acute valvular dysfunction. So in chronic heart failure, these symptoms occur gradually and insidious in development. So dia disebabkan oleh cumulative effect of chronic work of failure. Maksudnya kalau lama-lama the heart muscle to works over time, dia akan jadi penat fatigue. Okay, so this can cause chronic heart failure. So other than that, heart failure ada juga high output heart failure, whereby there is an increased demand of the tissue. So in what case? Contoh macam in anemia, because in anemia the oxygen carrying capacity is reduced, but the body still needs the oxygen. So what will happen is heart tu akan bergerak dengan lebih laju. So stroke volume remains the same, but dia nak supply extra. So what will happen is the heart rate will be increased in the heart high output failure. Okay, so in this case, patient lama-lama duk tachycardia, lama-lama heart tu akan fatigue. Sama juga in cases of hyperthyroidism, patient has excess T4, T3 thyroxine that akan menyebabkan high metabolic rate. So in this case, heart also akan work overtime, so akan dapat alteration tachycardia. So as a consequence, what will happen if the heart needs to work overtime? So heart that fails no longer be able to pump efficiently. Dia dah tak boleh dah pump ke depan. So this will increase the end-diastolic volume, and diastolic pressure will be also increase, and there will be increase in the venous pressure. So at the end of the day, the cardiac output yang ke depan tu pun heart tak boleh nak supply, dia menyebabkan forward failure, but dia akan accompanied by backward failure, which is dia menyebabkan increase in pressure, that is venous congestion. Belajarkan dalam E5 ada venous congestion, increase hydrostatic pressure. So in cardiac output, in heart failure, you have both the forward failure and the backward failure. So eventually every organ will be affected. So kalau organ tu ke depan, dia tak cukup oksigen. Kalau organ tu ke belakang, dia akan jadi edematus because of venous congestion. So so what will happen to our body? So body kita ni Allah dah cipta very beautiful. Kita akan try to compensate. So kita nak try juga maintain the cardiac output. So there are three mechanisms. The first mechanism is Frank-Starling law ataupun Frank-Starling mechanism. So apa yang Frank dan Starling bagi tahu? So Frank and Starling kata as the heart fill up more blood during diastole, more cardiac output. Maksudnya macam spring lah, kalau kita expect more output yang kita akan dapat. So in this case, healthy heart muscle is like a spring. So Starling kata more heart fills means equals to more stroke volume, more stronger contraction. Okay, tapi bila kita isi banyak, the myocyte fibers will also be stretched, kan? So heart will be dilated. So in the compensated heart failure, bila length to increase, the stroke volume will be more lah, sebab dia akan contract more. So to increase the cardiac output. But bila lama-lama heart tu dah penat, so dia tak dapat contract the same way. Or in another way, contohlah cardiac tu dah makin besar, hypertrophy, to compensate untuk dia contract more forcefully. But bila dia lengthen or dia makin tebal, this does not follow by increase in the circulation to the heart. Okay, heart tu dah jadi besar, tapi dia punya the blood supply to the heart itself remains the same. So heart will not get enough oxygen juga lah. So at the end of the day, this cardiac muscle can fatigue. So in this case, because the body does not able to maintain sufficient amount of cardiac output, this is a state we call as decompensated heart failure. So macam spring lah, spring you stretch lebih, at the end of the day dia dah lepas dia punya kekenalan kau benda dah. So at the end of the day, dia tak return to normal. Okay. The second mechanism is activation of neurohormonal system. So yang ni returns back to your sympathetic, your renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system, and the natriuretic effects. So bila you have reduced cardiac output, the mean arterial pressure will also be reduced, and this will be detected by ada dua receptors, which is the baroreceptors and the mechanoreceptors. Okay, bila dia detect, dia akan kata that the pressure is not enough. So what will happen? So body akan stimulate sympathetic activity and also will inhibit the parasympathetic activity. So sympathetic activity menyebabkan increase adrenaline, increase in adrenaline synthesis, and this will all increases the heart rate. Okay. So next is the renin-angiotensin-aldosterone system. Okay, bila heart cannot pump adequately, so kuranglah blood pergi ke distal organs. This will also include our renal. So renal hypoperfusion and reduced sodium delivery to the macula densa menyebabkan the juxtaglomerular cells in the kidney secretes renin. Okay, so renin akan stimulate angiotensin punya secretion lah kan. So angiotensin will be converted to angiotensin 2. Angiotensin 2 akan stimulate the aldosterone production. But angiotensin 2, dia ada extra special activity which dia adalah potent vasoconstrictor. So dia akan increasekan sympathetic activity, increasekan sodium and chloride absorption, stimulate release of aldosterone, stimulates arteriolar vasoconstriction as well as stimulate the LH section. So semua action ni adalah sebenarnya to maintain the cardiac output. Dia increase the pressure total peripheral resistance untuk increasekan cardiac output. Dia increasekan juga heart rate by sympathetic activity. Dia increasekan juga the volume so that increase venous return. So at the end of the day, the net effects are increased sodium and water retention. So dia nak increasekan balik the volume. So but what happened is long term dah lah heart tu dah kena kerja extra dah. Failing heart just now for whatever the reason, MI ke valvular dysfunction ke, heart tu already in failing state. Tu tambah lagi extra load, tambah lagi extra volume, and this will further exacerbate the condition. Although the body tries to help, but it is actually makes the heart to fail faster lah kan. Okay, next is the natriuretic peptides. These are secreted by the ventricles ataupun the atrium lah. So the NPs, we have three types of NP, the atrial, beta and as well as the C type of natriuretic peptides. So bila you have extra in volume, this will stretch the myocardium, the ventricles, and this will release the natriuretic peptides. Okay, so what happens is this NP akan menyebabkan vasodilation dan dia akan oppose the actions of RAAS dan menyebabkan natriuresis and diuresis. Okay. Next, the number 3 is myocardial structural changes. So, as we all know, that cardiac myocytes cannot proliferate, but macam mana dia nak adapt to the increased workload. So kita dah belajar cellular adaptation, but since the cardiac myocyte cannot proliferate, dia just boleh increase in size. So dia tak boleh hyperplasia, but dia akan increase in size, dia jadi cardiac hypertrophy. So macam mana dia jadi besar, increase in size? By increasing the number of sarcomeres and myocytes in arrangement. So in pressure overload state, maksudnya pressure tu high, sarkomere tu dia akan bersusun secara paralel. Maksudnya dia akan jadi menggemuk. Bila paralel ni dia akan susun gitulah, so that the wall thickness akan jadi bertambah because we have pressure overload. In volume overload, you have extra volume, nak kena expand. So the sarcomeres tu will be arranged in series. So dia akan jadi panjang. Okay, so in pressure overload, contoh in hypertension, in valvular stenosis, the new sarcomeres is added in the parallel to the long axis of myocyte, so that you kan jadi besar gemuk lah, untuk tahan pressure yang tinggi, so that heart tu tak bocor. So in this we can get the concentric hypertrophy, whereby the ventricular wall thickness is increased without increase in the size of the chamber. Okay, in dilatation, in volume overload, dia punya sarcomeres tu is added in the series of the existing sarcomeres. Dia susun satu-satu, so the ventricles akan jadi lagi panjang instead of gemuk. So in this, the muscle fiber length will be increased. So in this pressure overload state, you can see that the ventricles are enlarged. There is prominent thickening of the ventricular septum. So ventricular septum ni kat sini lah. Kat sini. Nampak tak? So this is the right, this is left. So this is the septum in between right and left. So in this you can see that the ventricles are enlarged and the left ventricle punya space very small. Okay, in volume overload, you can see that the wall thickness are normal, but the heart chambers are dilated. Dia memanjang. Okay. Okay. So A is concentric hypertrophy. A is concentric hypertrophy. B is eccentric hypertrophy, and in the middle is a normal heart. Okay. So this one is in this. You can see that the heart size is increased. Bila you measure pun, the weight of the heart akan increase. Okay, weight akan jadi 2 or 4 times more than normal. In the histology, you can see that this is not the normal myocyte. In hypertrophic myocyte, the myocyte size is large, but the capillaries are increased as much as the myocyte. And in between, you can also see deposition of fibrous tissue. Ini tak ada lah. But sometimes you can see because of the underlying pathological process. Contoh macam ada MI ke before this. Of course, in the middle, in between, the old MI akan ada fibrosis. So these are the summary of the compensatory mechanism. Nanti you boleh lihat lah. Okay, so now we know that heart tu, there are systolic dysfunction and diastolic dysfunction. Both of these conditions can affect either side of the heart. So it can affect the left side, it can also affect the right side of the heart, but it can also affect both side of the heart. Okay, dia akan jadi biventricular heart failure ataupun congestive heart failure in both sides kan. So what happened in left side heart failure? In systolic dysfunction, damage to the left ventricular contractility menyebabkan pump failure. So you dapat reduce in cardiac output. So in forward failure, you dapat systemic hypoperfusion just now, less oxygen to the brain, less oxygen to the kidney, less oxygen to everywhere. In backward failure, you can get elevated back pressure. So bila left, back pressure dia akan sampai ke pulmonary circulation. So dia akan dapat congestion dekat pulmonary. So in diastolic dysfunction, left ventricles do not relax during diastole. So akan menyebabkan no reduction of output during exercise and the filling pressure increase, and this will refer back to the pulmonary circulation. So left side dia akan menyebabkan increased venous return from the lung. So dia akan menyebabkan failure and pulmonary congestion. Lung tu akan jadi wet. So but left side juga menyebabkan you cannot supply the blood to the systemic circulation. So akan menyebabkan hypoxemia. Okay. So in this patient akan dapat lung punya manifestation. Patient akan dapat the first presentation is dyspnea, which is failure to breathe on exertion. So maksudnya kita suruh patient jalan daripada sini ke sana, heart failure patient. So halfway dia kena stop dan tarik nafas. That is difficulty in breathing. So as the failure to progress, fluid akan accumulate in the lung. So fluid akan berada dalam alveolar space menyebabkan patient akan coughing. Coughing ada clean 40 sputum macam itulah. So lama-lama patient akan dapat paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. Air tu dah banyak dalam lung menyebabkan patient cannot sleep dalam bentuk tidur lah. So patient instead kena guna bantal dan prop up dia punya badan so that the fluid tu akan turun. Okay, that is paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. And if it becomes too severe, patient suddenly dia tertidur, dia akan terbangun daripada tidur, gasping for air. So patient akan rasa macam lemas. Patient sebenarnya lemas dalam paru-paru sendiri. So this is called paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. Yang tadi orthopnea, now is PND. PND is the sudden awakening of the patient. Orthopnea is difficulty of breathing during lying down. And when you auscultate, you akan dapat capitation ataupun rales at the basal kat bawah. Okay. Heart, bila kita check, the heart will be besar, enlarged, cardiomegaly. Because of stroke volume tak dapat, so heart will compensate by sympathetic activation. You akan dapat tachycardia, heart rate akan increase. You can also hear a third heart sound. And bila volume increase, pressure increase, you akan dapat mitral regurgitation. Ini dia dah extra volume. So lama-lama kita punya valve tu instead duduk macam ni, dia akan ternaik ke atas. Because this is the left sided, mitral will be affected. Okay. As well as you can dapat atrial fibrillation and stasis of the blood in the left ventricles are prone to thrombosis, and this thrombosis boleh pecah, dislodge and embolize to the distant organs. Maksudnya masuk ke brain, jadi ischemia. Okay, so systemically reduce in cardiac output reduces the perfusions to all other organs. So in renal kita akan dapat renal hypoperfusion. So lama-lama collectively this can lead to chronic kidney disease. Okay, so they reduce perfusions to cerebral, lama-lama patient akan dapat hypoxia, hypoxic encephalopathy. So patient akan dapat diminished cognition. So kita tanya dia pukul berapa sekarang, so dia pun dah tak sure pukul berapa sekarang, kenal tak saya lagi, dan patient tak kenal. Okay, stupor, and in severe condition boleh dapat koma. So morphologically, when you dapat the heart, the patient pass away, you dapat the heart, of course grossly the heart can enlarge besar. So but we can also see the underlying condition that predisposes patient to heart failure. Contoh ada MI ke, so you akan nampak the MI changes. Left ventricles is hypertrophied or dilated. So microscopically you nampak macam tadi lah, increase in the myocyte size. So this is the heart. You can see that in this heart ada area yang putih ni. So this myocardium is replaced the fibrosis, and this is the old infarct area. So bila ada old infarct area kat sini, so the heart cannot contract properly. In this case, this is a concentric hypertrophy. So lungs, because kita ada backward pressure tadi, venous return, lungs akan jadi very wet. Lung becomes heavy and boggy. So in between, bila you cut section the lung tu akan nampak fluids keluar. Okay, histologically you can see that what type of edema in this case? Transudative ke exudative? Transudative, because of increase in hydrostatic pressure kan, increased venous congestion. So in this case kita akan dapat pulmonary edema that is very vascular and interstitial transudate, and in between ada edema. So yang pink-pink ni sebenarnya fluids, ni adalah alveoli, ni ada alveoli. So bila ada extravasation of fluid, there will be also extravasation of RBC. Bila RBC keluar ke dalam space, that is not the normal space. So macrophage will engulf the RBC, and this will turn into hemosiderin laden cell, ataupun yang panggil heart failure cell. So you can see here in the alveoli there is hemosiderin laden macrophage. So these are heart failure cells. Okay, ni adalah alveoli. So ni adalah RBC yang kecil-kecil yang terlepas masuk ke dalam alveolar space. So next is the right side heart failure. So right side dia drain masuk ke dalam pulmonary, but right side receive the blood from the venous circulation. So what are the causes of right-sided? So anything that affects the left-sided boleh menyebabkan right. Kenapa? Because left side akan menyebabkan increase backward pressure in pulmonary circulation. So this pulmonary circulation lama-lama can affect the right side. Okay. Other than that, the pulmonary, maksudnya the primary pulmonary pathology boleh menyebabkan isolated right-sided heart failure. So maksudnya dia affect the right side only. Contoh in parenchymal disease of the lung, increase in pulmonary vascular tension, hypertension, maksudnya pulmonary hypertension or pulmonary embolism or pulmonary vasoconstriction. So dia akan menyebabkan pulmonary hypertension and pooling of the blood in the venous system. So sekarang ni compared to the left dia tak boleh supply, but the congestion is at the lung. In right side, okay, now dia tak boleh nak pump blood ke venous ke pulmonary circulation, and the pooling of blood is at the systemic. So semua organ daripada supravena cava, inferior vena cava, whatever yang drains into the right heart akan be congested. Okay, so what happen is your liver becomes enlarged, your spleen become enlarged, there is fluid filled in your abdominal cavity, your legs become edematous. Okay, there will be ascites, there will also pleural effusion. So clinically you can see that there is systemic and portovenous congestion. Patient akan dapat hepatic and splenomegaly, peripheral edema. Bila you press, you akan dapat what type of edema? pitting edema. So bila pitting edema biasanya ni clinical lah. So you want to see the severity of edema, you start daripada ankle dan naik. If it is too severe, the edema tu akan sampai ke area presacral. Presacral edema. Pleural effusions means ada collection of fluids inside the pleural space. Ascites, and in lung we have very few respiratory symptoms, unlike the left-sided. Okay, so morphologically in liver you can see that the congestive hepatomegaly, whereby the cut section of liver tu memang dah gross lah hepatomegaly. So when you cut, you can see that the liver ada morphology of nutmeg liver. Nutmeg ni buah apa ni? Buah keras ke buah pala? Betul lah, buah begitu. So the cut section tu macam this nutmeg. So the areas are congested, centrilobular areas, surrounded by the peripheral paler non-congested. So kat sini ada congestion, dekat sini is the non-congested. So if left-sided heart failure is present in this case, maksudnya dua-dua side, right and left side. So left dia menyebabkan hypoperfusion, right menyebabkan congestion. So in this patient, kalau dia ada dua-dua side, dia not only dia ada nutmeg liver, dekat area of centrilobular akan ada area of necrosis because dia tak dapat enough blood supply daripada left side. Okay, so you dapat dua patologi. In long standing, this akan menyebabkan cardiac cirrhosis. Maksudnya all of this will be turn to fibrosis. So kita akan dapat cirrhosis lah. So spleen, kita akan dapat splenomegaly because of increase in portal venous pressure, portal hypertension, and this akan menyebabkan backflow of the blood. So spleen akan jadi tense and enlarged. We can also get pleural effusion, so collection of fluid inside the pleural space. So kalau the congestive heart failure, biasanya both sides are affected lah. Dia bukanlah dalam gambar ni one side je. So actually you akan dapat bilateral pleural effusion, maksudnya kiri kanan lah. You can also get ascites as well as pericardial effusion, collection of transudative fluids inside the pericardial space. So if more than 1 liter of fluids accumulated inside the pleural space, this will be disposed to atelectasis. So dia punya alveoli itu akan collapse. So if there is more than 500 ml of fluids accumulated in the pericardial space, this akan menyebabkan cardiac tamponade. So heart tak boleh nak pump lah because dia ada fluids kan. And in peritoneal transudate, dia adalah ascites, transudative ascites. So in subcutaneous tissue, there will be accumulations of fluids. Dia akan dapat pitting edema or dependent edema. Dependent tu maksudnya dependent by gravity lah. Whatever yang duduk kat bawah tu akan jadi edematous. So in bedridden, dia akan dapat presacral edema lah. Okay. So in very severe cases, you can also get massive edema, which we call as anak salsala. So in congestive cardiac failures, you dapat clinical syndrome of both sides, right and left-sided. Okay. So heart cannot pump or fill properly, and fluid will be accumulated. So you dapat venous congestion as well as hypoperfusion. And these are the leading cause of mortality and morbidity worldwide. So any question?